So the reason why I'm wearing this beanie is because my hair has grown a substantial amount to the point that it looks like a pancake, so to cover it up I use this headwear to sort of make my appearance decent. I can't really talk about hip-hop without mentioning one of the most prolific and controversial figures of the genre. I am talking about Eminem, aka Marshall Mathers. And I mean controversial in two types of conversation. For one, his topics and lexicon has been deemed careless, insensitive, brutal, gory, but on the other hand, it's his relevance in today's age of hip-hop. New and old heads of hip-hop are debating right now whether or not Eminem should be put on a greatest rapper of all time pedestal. On one hand, his earlier career outputs push the limits of hip-hop and pop culture as well in regards to vulgarity, expressiveness, creativity, and as well as how far as multi-syllable and internal rhyme schemes can be taken. But on the other hand, since he's been putting out questionable outputs in this decade, people are starting to question his relevancy here. There was even another argument made by Lord Jamar of Brand New Nubian that said that Eminem, since he doesn't typically make music for black people, which he deems to be the core target audience of the genre of hip-hop, he should not be in conversation of the greatest rappers of all time. While I do understand the basis of those two arguments being formed, I still think artistically, in hip-hop, in pop culture, relevancy, hell, even in record sales, Eminem made a huge impact. When Slim Shady LP came out in 1999, I don't think anyone knew how to react to this level of character. Everything about that album was deemed inappropriate, offensive, careless, insensitive, and in a sense politically incorrect. Tying a rope around his dick and hanging himself, drowning his wife while his daughter watches, and taking shrooms at a party with a friend up until the friend actually dies from overdoses. It all seemed extreme to the hip-hop and suburban ear, but it's with these sentiments as well as the arguable disgust towards it, it propelled Eminem to legend status in hip-hop and icon in pop culture. But it's with this rags to riches story and status from Eminem that left him be more insecure and anxious towards his personal life. And Marshall Mathers LP was the answer and sort of the platform for Eminem to vent about that phase in his life. Released in May 23rd in the year 2000 under Interscope Records, it just celebrated its 20th anniversary. And unlike Slim Shady LP, where I felt like that album he was playing more of a character, a comical character, although that album did have some serious and personal moments here and there, it didn't have the nosedive approach to him as a very raw, talented, but as well personal individual. Hence why he named it after his own government name. If Slim Shady was Eminem's insensitivity meter on 10, Marshall Mathers LP is easily insensitivity on level 1000. In an interview with Sway, Eminem said the following quote, "I've always been chasing the Marshall Mathers LP because I know that I captured a moment. It's kind of a time capsule. When I look back at it, the times that it was back then and the turmoils in my life that was happening." Not only this album propelled Eminem to a larger-than-life status, as if he wasn't already with Slim Shady, but it proved that his 2-month creative binge creating this album proved to be groundbreaking and shook the genre altogether, but as well giving you personal cautionary tales. And let's start the aspect of groundbreaking to one of his most famous songs, Stan. This song legitimately changed the whole hip-hop lexicon. Ever since this song's release, the art form through its community has been using stan to describe a fan who is overly obsessive with an artist. And I've seen this terminology used in many forms through blog posts, critiques, conversations. Hell, I'll even admit that I've been called this sentiment so many times in my life. I always thought this song was ingenious just by the minute details of tone of voice, of how precise Eminem has to find a tone of voice, a pitch of a fan who is overly obsessed about him to the point of mimicry, but still having that difference so that the audience can tell the difference between Stan and Eminem. The beat is ironic when you really think about it. It's calm, it's soothing, but it tells a story about a fan, an overly obsessed fan, who is angry out of his mind, obsessed out of his mind, that he drunk drive off a bridge while his pregnant girlfriend is tied up in the trunk. And I love the build-up of songwriting from verse 1 up until verse 3 from Stan's part, and Eminem's realization on verse 4 really speaks volume of how his art form can really influence other people. The sort of personal edge, I don't really know if you can call it that. Maybe I say that because of the figures he brings up that lifts up the title to its sincerity is scattered all throughout. On the track Kill You, he legitimately raps for a line about raping his own mother to prove a point that he is what he is and he is insane to these sort of suburban ears. But I think his personal side, or at least a hyperbolic insight on his personal side, is very mirrored on the track The Way I Am and Kim. The track Kim used to scare the fuck out of me. And what's so ironic, I think in a way, or maybe in a sense of, oh, that's a cool fact, is the fact that Kim is actually the first song Eminem wrote for this album. So I admittedly discovered Eminem really late in my years, around 8th and 9th grade, and when I finally had the time to binge his discography and came to Marshall Mathers LP, came across the track Kim, I was terrified, I was disturbed, and I think I finally realized in my rebellious teen years what the phrase "don't show this to your mom and dad" means. Because the amount of anger, distaste, toxic love, vendetta Eminem was able to portray here is haunting, it's disturbing, it gets under your skin. Of course, now I've adapted my ears to more extreme music, more disturbing music through the other genres I've listened to, and this track doesn't disturb me as much now as it did back then. But I will say this track, whenever I'm listening or in the mood to listen to Marshall Mathers LP, I always skip this track, not because I think the track is bad. I think the track is very, can I even call it emotional? Very intense, to say the least. It felt like it ruins the momentum a bit. Eminem before this track has been giving you really great braggadocio, comical, satirical songs, but all of a sudden this track just got too real for me. I don't think I've ever been disturbed by a song, or rather a hip-hop song, than Kim. And God, especially that choking sound that Kim makes as Eminem chokes her and says, "Bleed, bitch, bleed." The instrumental is haunting with these overblown strings and thunderous drums, as well as these trickling keyboards in the intro. But I think what's more fucked up about this track is the fact that Eminem has somehow made it catchy in the hook. Only Eminem could make something so disturbing and something so intense be comical. The track The Way I Am is a beautiful and great song telling the personal views that he has on his now star status life. The instrumental is wonderfully infectious with the piano melodies and these jolts of bells. And I love how Eminem flows with the earworm heavy melody from the pianos here. It really grabs my attention the first time I listened to it, and it still grabs my attention now. He does a really great job on reflecting of how fame ease his financial struggles, but at the same time it sort of pressures him to having to abide by a certain image, or he doesn't know how to tell the reals from the fakes, living his now new normal, or rather abnormal life. To leave me alone when you freaks see me out in the streets when I'm eating or feeding my daughter, to not come and speak to me, I don't know you, and no, I don't owe you a motherfucking anything. I'm not Mr. InSync, I'm not what your friends think. I'm not Mr. Friendly, I can be a prick. If you tempt me, my tank is on empty. This track really struck a chord with Eminem because he did say this in an interview at one point. I don't trust nobody now because everybody I meet is meeting me as Eminem. I don't know if they are hanging with me because they like me, or because I'm a celebrity, or because they think they can get something from me. But what's so interesting about Eminem's view, and I guess Eminem's coping mechanism to all this complaints and discomfort from all facets of the entertainment world, even white suburbia, he says the only way he can be at peace is to be himself. The potty-mouthed, the reckless, the insensitive, raw rapper that flips the bird everywhere he goes. I really think that this album took the concept of recklessness and vulgarity, as I mentioned before, to the fullest knob, but I have to be careful about what I'm going to say next. Although a lot of the tracks here are misogynistic, homophobic, insensitive, and gory, put your hands down, bitch, I ain't gonna shoot you, I'ma pull you to this bullet and put it through you. You can't deny the sort of beauty and elegance that Eminem puts into his craft through his internal and multi-syllable rhyming scheme. Take for instance the track Remember Me featuring RBX and Sticky Fingers. He raps so aggressively with a lot of emotion and passion, and his rhyming scheme is amazing as well. What he raps about is typically very violent to the pop culture and suburban ears. 6 sick dreams of picnic scenes, 2 kids 16 with M16s and 10 clips each, and them shits reach through 6 kids each, and Slim gets blame in Bill Clinton's speech to fix these streets. Fuck that, you can vanish to volcanic ash and reappear in hell with a can of gas and a match. But in typical Eminem fashion, with goriness, intense songwriting, he can give you some comical edges. I'm trying to clean up my fucking image, so I promised the fucking critics I wouldn't say fucking for 6 minutes. He disses a lot of celebrities and pop culture figures. On the track Marshall Mathers, he dissed Insane Clown Posse, and I don't need help from D12 to beat up 2 females in makeup who may try to scratch me with Lee nails. Slim anus, you damn right, Slim anus. I don't get fucked in mine like you two little flamin'. And he miraculously as well get away with a gang war line. Driven up the block in the car that they shot Pac in. Looking for big killers, dressing ridiculous. Blue and red, like I don't see what the big deal is. But I think in these sort of tracks, a lot of the posse cuts or what you want to call it, he wants to prove to the legends and to his contemporaries that nobody is going to out-rap him in his own track. And not only that, he can out-rap anybody, but with his own unique styles. And that is shown in posse cuts such as Under the Influence featuring D12, as well as the track Bitch Please the Second featuring Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, and Exhibit, as well as Nate Dogg. Rest in peace. I'm like a fucking wasp in the hospital, lost, stinging the fuck out of everything I come across in the halls. I light a candle and place it up in the mantle. Grab a knife at the blade and stab you with the fucking handle. So when you see me dressing up like a nerd on TV or heard the CD using the word so freely, it's just me being me here. Want me to tone it down? Suck my fucking dick, you happy now? Even in the track Amityville with Bizarre, where they're talking about the gritty streets of Detroit, he comes in with guns blazing. I kind of feel sorry for Bizarre. And he does a great verse, but Eminem just overshrouded him. Now, I could talk about the single The Real Slim Shady with that iconic instrumental and the copious amount of celebrity disses and references he has on the track, and the messaging of nobody can be Eminem unless it's Eminem, despite of the amount of mimics and imitators. Everyone has heard of that single. Everyone know the relevance of that single. Everyone know the performance of that single. And he could sort of get the essence of vulgarity, but in a radio-friendly territory from Eminem. What I want to close this piece with is probably one of the greatest, or one of my favorite closing tracks on any hip-hop album, and that's the track Criminal. And what a way to close off this album. The beat is catchy as all hell with the infectious melodic piano and the infectious bass lines. To me, this track is the essence of Eminem at its finest core. Taking a jab at himself but turning it into a hard-hitting bar. Taking jabs at the concerned suburban listeners who will scrutinize everything that he does. This is his playground. Eminem is here to stir up controversy, and when he inevitably does, he will add fuel to the fire as a criminal and stab everyone along the way. I love the skit in the middle where Eminem and Dr. Dre robs a bank. Eminem warns the bank teller that if she doesn't put the money in the bag, he's gonna shoot him. But he shoots her anyways, despite her putting all the money that the bank has in the bag. And I love the fact that Eminem has the audacity to actually say thank you after shooting. It's this beautiful juxtaposition of extremes. And the last verse of this track is probably my favorite verse from Eminem's career. It's poignant, it's punchy, it's savage, it's unceasing, especially that last passage. If I ever gave a fuck, I'd shave my nuts, tuck my dick in between my legs and cluck. You motherfucking chickens ain't brave enough to say the stuff I say, so just tape it shut. Shit, half the shit I say I just make it up to make you mad, so kiss my white naked ass. And if it's not a rapper that I make it as, I'm gonna be a fucking rapist in a Jason mask. So in regards to impact about this album to the hip-hop world and maybe even pop culture, this album to me is nothing but impact. It stirred controversy, it lit the fuse, it added fuel to the fire. It was undoubtedly 90s and early 2000s in spirit. If anything, that might be one of my biggest problems with this album, or at least his first two commercial albums, is he does date himself with the amount of celebrity references that he puts, and as well as the skit Ken Kniff. No, I'm good. Eminem proved to anyone that he is here to stay. He doesn't give a fuck. He's here to just make you piss off. And through this aggression and genuine satirical rap songs and artistry that rap artists down the line such as Logic, Flatbush Zombies, Joyner Lucas, and even Kendrick Lamar has taken influence from him and twist it to their own sort of artistic merit. Of course, I have to address the elephant in the room. A lot of the braggadocious track, a lot of the tracks in general in this album essentially has a lot of homophobic, misogynistic lines and lyrics, but listening to it again and again and again and sort of finding new interpretations from other people as well as self-reflecting, the reason why he's so aggressive about these sort of themes is because, well, not only, put it this way, not only he was struggling with two female figures at the time, his mom and his wife, but I think he took those concepts as not a genuine piece of emotion, though his cadence might fool you into thinking that way. But I think it's the biggest middle finger, the biggest fuck you to white suburban American moms that has complaints about his art form. He is Eminem. He will be controversial. He will add fuel to the fire, and he will stay violent throughout his career. It's not his responsibility to be responsible. It's his responsibility to be a complete psychopath. And that's my think piece, or whatever you want to call it, on Eminem's Marshall Mathers LP. I know it's really late because it is June and this album's 20th anniversary was in May, but I had a lot of fun recording and doing this review, or whatever you want to call this again. Yeah, mid-year is coming around, so I'll make a video out of that as well. And I'm also going to give you my favorite non-hip-hop albums of 2020. And yeah, that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share. And don't forget to follow my Instagram account for more content. Anyways, that's it from me, and I hope to see you guys soon. Stay safe. Peace!